As a Chinese boy growing up, the story of the Three Kingdoms is one of the first stories that I have learned and became passionately interested in. The first contact, funny enough, is video games, and then the drama series, and finally picking up the novel when I was old enough to read. And I have read it front to back many times over. Hell, I even started a channel talking about it just now. So the popularity of the Three Kingdoms seems to be a natural occurrence. And for sure, that is true to many people. However, it is when I started digging deeper and started to look for more than just the surface level stories, and not to seek more entertaining media, but starting to search for more nuances, looking through different lenses and perspective, a question suddenly popped up in my head. How the hell did this period become so popular and gathered so many fans? Now, the story of the Three Kingdoms can be summed up like this. By 184 AD, the Han dynasty is essentially on the brink of collapse. The rebellions amongst the commoners start to occur frequently, and famously, the Yellow Turban is the major rebellious force that became the last straw that broke the camel's back, and forced the central government of Han to disintegrate its central power and delegate the responsibility of fending off the rebels to the provincial level. The government of the provinces started to become warlords themselves after successfully suppressing the rebels, and the Han court became nothing more than a symbol. And that's where the story began and all the brilliance that followed. Eventually, three warlords emerged as the sole standing power, and each declared their claim on the Middle Kingdom, and thus the term Three Kingdoms. To the east of Conjecture, the righteous men gathered. Crusades were formed against the tyrant clan. They rallied under the symbol of loyalty, but with the heart of intention for dominance, troops are guarded, yet the forces are scattered. Soldiers marched, yet wavered like wild geese wandering. Plots were formed, but against each other. Even within families have spears been sharpened. In the south, one has assumed the throne. In the north, one has sculpted an imperial seal. While armors decayed and became food for worms, commoners died and ceased to exist. Whitened skeletons littered amongst the wild, and for thousands of miles, not a rooster to be heard. For those survived were 1 in 100, that the heart breaks upon the sight of this world. A theme that is extremely underexplored in regards to the Three Kingdoms is in fact its darkness and cruelty. The above poetry is written by Cao Cao as he witnessed the fragile and the hypocritical alliance formed by the 18 warlords who fought Dong Zhuo, each of whom were merely seeking to fulfill their own ambition, but the aftermath was experienced by the commoners who have but 1 out of 100 that have survived the calamity. 1 out of 100 might be an exaggeration, but you'd be surprised to find out how close it is to the truth. Historians have cited that the Han population was around 56 million households before the Three Kingdom period began. However, this record also shows that the population during the Three Kingdom period have went down to the mere 5 million households. That is, nearly 90% of the population evaporated. Let that sink in for a moment. Is the Three Kingdoms a lead up to a brighter future? Well, no. In fact, exactly the opposite. It's not getting better. Evidently, what Three Kingdoms has led up to was an even more disastrous era, particularly to the ethnic Han commoners. The period after the Three Kingdoms, the War of the Eight Princes, and the invasion and rebellion of the 5 barbarians, saw even more notorious events, conflicts, politics, and even genocides taking place in the Middle Kingdom. Many tales have recorded the calamity endured by the Han people when northern nomadic tribe invaded the Middle Kingdom, and it was said that during those times, the population of the ethnic Han was reduced to become the minority ethnic for the first time and the only time ever in Chinese history. So why did China a country where most of its population currently identify as ethnic Han, cherished a period that led up to a total destruction of the Han bloodline and culture. Did the Three Kingdom period have the most turmoil and chaos? Well, no. As previously mentioned, the period after the Three Kingdoms, the War of the Eight Princes and the invasion and rebellion of the Five Barbarians arguably takes the crown. Well then, is it because the Three Kingdoms produced some of the most interesting story plots and characters? Well, not to discount this notion, but there are so many more historical periods that has equally, if not more, intriguing plots and intriguing personalities. Coming to mind was the Warring States period, where not only the military confrontation was prevalent, but also the clash of ideologies, interesting geopolitics, some of the most famous tacticians, politicians, philosophers, diplomats, thinkers, all collided with each other. Just to name a few, it has Bai Qi, the general from Qing state, who never lost a single battle in his lifetime. He is infamously nicknamed as Ren Tu, the human slaughterer. It was in the epic battle of the Changping that was recorded that he killed 400,000 surrendered Zhao soldiers. It also have Shang Yang, the politician, philosopher, and revolutionist who introduced the rule of law into the state of Qing, introducing a standardized unit of measurement on weight, size, and wealth. He invented many methods of quantification, merits, and social conduct, and directly boosted the power of the Qing state, which eventually took over the whole of China. It also have Qu Yuan, a tragical patriot to the state of Chu, who desperately tried his heart out defending the nation, but failed by a stubborn ruler. And fun fact, there's a traditional Chinese holiday that even exists today, which is dedicated to honor Qu Yuan's death. Qu Yuan's poetry is even renowned today, and is learned by all Chinese during their primary school. So is Three Kingdoms a period that saw a booming culture and philosophy? Definitely no. Spring and Autumn period takes that crown, as it gave birth to the 100 schools of thought, including Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism. Now, let's not go on a tangent. My point was that Three Kingdoms, while it's extremely interesting, but it's a stretch to claim that it's the most interesting period in Chinese history. Truth is, the answer of why Three Kingdoms have gotten so popular is probably very obvious. Some of the most commonly accepted answers relate to pointing out how the Three Kingdom period has a very streamlined structure for storytelling. And also, a major influence needs to be credited is to Chen Shou, a later historian who wrote the records of the Three Kingdoms, which then acted as a perfect template for all future derivative works and fictionalized stories based on the Three Kingdoms. After all, chaotic periods attracts attention, and people love the story about war and strategy. It boils our blood when seeing great individuals combat and compete against each other to the bitter end. But for me, I think there's a deeper reasoning. What do I mean by symbolism? For example, the subscribe and the like button acts as a symbolism to the YouTube algorithm to show my content to more people who share the same interest. So let's hit that button. Okay, back on track. Well, let's bring out the elephant in the room. Chinese people today, majority of the Chinese people of course, identify themselves as ethnic Han. So what followed after the Three Kingdoms was the lead up towards a multi-ethnic China, following the event of the nomadic invasion from the north, during which many foreign tribes and ethnic groups start to populate in the Middle Kingdom. And it was from this point on that the Han identity has gradually stopped being a pure description of bloodline, but rather turning into a symbol of cultural identity. So if the Han dynasty is what brought this Han cultural identity to life, then Three Kingdoms is the anchor point for which people last remembered of what it meant to be a Han people. Three Kingdoms, interestingly enough, is the final spark, a final showdown, a curtain call to the end of the Han rule. This symbolism is extremely powerful to the minds of the people who continued to identify as Han in the later part of the Chinese history. It is a sense of nostalgia, as well as a sense of final pride and glory. And of course, let's not forget, this period is just an awesome story regardless. Three Kingdom has some of the most powerful fan club. It indirectly affected how popular this story is today. In the next video, we'll take a look at some of the most powerful people who are also a fan of this period. Stay tuned.